more connected as a team, whatever we do in the early game, mid-game, late game with Core, because he really understands how the team should play, and it's the support role is along with the jungle role, the two that impact the map the most. So I think, yeah, I would expect that.
Welcome back to the LCS, where Hans Sama is affirming much of what we believe we can expect from a player like CoreJJ as he steps back into the lineup. A vocal part of any roster with a kind of macro-oriented mindset from that support position. That's it. That's the story of today. CoreJJ's back, Emily.
Well, and also the reason why a lot of these players wanted to join this team is because Core is here. Like, he is known not just in the LCS, but across other regions as just being, having an incredible understanding of the game, really caring about the region, just being someone that you want to play with.
He's a complete package of a player in terms of mechanics, game understanding, shot calling, communication, being a good leader as well, it feels like, in terms of having a good attitude most of the time. And it has shown over the course of his career how good he is. He is one of the most accomplished players in the world.
Yeah, looking at those stats, pretty damn good to have. And it's so important to just talk about the context of this. With how well TL is doing right now, you are changing from a developing support in Ayla, who is LCS ready, to just the best support North America has ever had, period. It's just like,
what a journey.
That's crazy.
What a journey he's been on. 2014 debuts as an AD carry in the LCK.
If you watch Dignitas, CoreJJ in the AD carry position, you would have never predicted this.
That's the thing.
Gonna fall.
I think that's part of what makes him such a spectacular persona is his journey, right? How it started, where he's ended up, and the lessons that he has learned along the way. And I think that that's where so much of the value we see in him just as a player, a part of the LCS, kind of comes to fruition, is the way that he kind of shares that experience with everybody else.
Yeah, and I mean, when we first started looking at him in the role swap support, it was actually when 2v2 lanes started becoming so much more important because they just eradicated lane swaps. So that entire Samsung run where he did become their starting support, took them to Worlds Final, is actually what I think of when I think of him like as this just insane laning support, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what him and Hans do in the 2v2 because of how aggressive they were in this one game in Lock-In.
And that's the thing, Mark. The 2v2 that they have today is against none other than Vulcan and Danny. And so as much as we talk about Core as an individual, Vulcan, no slouch in his own right, and holistically over their careers in the head-to-head, these guys are razor thin. They're close.
Yeah, Vulcan and CoreJJ is probably the most storied rivalry in the support position right now. Core and him go back and forth a little bit on the All-Pro voting. For the most part, Core has got the better of him in those, but in the actual games they played, it's super close. And funnily enough, I bumped into Vulcan in the bathroom and I was like, you ready to go back up against CoreJJ? He goes, you know, I've lost to Team Liquid a lot in 2022 already. The one time I won was against CoreJJ. So he's actually excited it's not Ayla. Yeah, he's ready to get another W right here.
Okay. I love that so much. And I mean, like, both these supports have had their journeys throughout this their time in the LCS. So just being able to see them go at each other. Vulcan, who's breathed a fresh breath of air in Evil Geniuses and how they play through bot lane, I think is going to make this an exciting debut this split for CoreJJ.
I don't generally like to show too much bias on the desk, but with those win columns being 19-18, you got to know I'm rooting for the EG win today. Let's even that up.
Symmetry.
Yeah, let's just even that up for both symmetry purposes, but also because I think that's just going to continue to fuel an exciting matchup between these two guys when we think about that second round robin and going from there. One other thing that we, of course, have to note is what you see popping up on your screens right now. Impact right now is 2 away from 3,000 all-time LCS assists. So we'll see if he can get it today.
Another top karma game?
Hey, if it doesn't get done in a top karma game, then I don't know if it
No Trinamere. He's not going to be around anymore.
He stays at 2999 for the rest of the time. Either way, for this beautiful third game of the day, we are also being treated to a tri-cast with Phreak, Kobe, and Azael. Gents, enjoy this one.
Hello and welcome to the cast. We are excited to be here. It feels like the final boss has arrived now in the LCS. CoreJJ on Team Liquid is the roster I think everyone had eyes on, as this is maybe the most egregious super team we have ever seen in the LCS. And now that he's got his green card, he is eligible to play. That is why he's on the roster with everyone else still in. They tried subbing out top lane, tried subbing out Hans, tried subbing out Core, and now they're all in together. And this roster really does look very scary.
And speaking of Core there on screen, we do have a couple of delays getting everything set up for him the first time since lock-in, so we'll get right into Champ Select as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Everybody's excited to see him back, but my favorite part about this budding rivalry of Team Liquid and Evil Geniuses is that it spreads across the entire roster with so many matchups. Let's get right into Champ Select first, though, because this is one of the biggest points. Obviously, Jinx is going to be one of the bottom lane carries that is heavily fought over, now with both bottom lanes being their intended starters.
Yeah, both of them have 8 plays on Jinx between lock-in as well as the regular season. Next most played, 3 for Hansama on the Aphelios, only 2 on a number of different ones for Danny, so extremely highly prized. Thresh as well is going to be really, really up there, I think, today, as Core is such a strong Thresh player.
And I like these. These are some interesting tweaks on the blue side bans here from Team Liquid. Targeting the Tryndamere split push from Impact raises the value on that Graves, because Graves has been very hard to answer rushing Hullbreaker if you don't get your hands on something like the Tryndamere. And Gwen is also banned out from red side, so that really, really raises the value on Graves.
And it's locked in. So he's already onto it. His 5th play, 12 unique champions. However, 5 of these picks have all been on Graves for Bwipo, so still happy to play that one out. I do like that we've seen the metagame evolve a little bit, right? Hecarim bans showing up after the Trinity Force got a bit tankier. Suddenly we're seeing a lot more Trinity Force Hecarim be a big thing. So, you know, what are the key junglers to be taken off the table?
Yeah, it works really well as an engage tool also, right? You know, so many teams are wanting to draft enchanters and seeing the power of enchanters, and that often means you're giving up your engage support, so bringing in Hecarim can enable a lot of those compositions in ways that I thought we would be seeing early on during the year, so I'm excited to see that kind of building diversity in jungle, and I think Champions Queue has something to do with that as well. You know, it feels like the meta is kind of evolving in its own, not only just in scrims, but in Champions Queue, where these people are grinding out and finding new answers and new strategies.
Looking forward here, though, for EG. They're blinding Corki for JoJo into Bjergsen, expecting a weak matchup on his side. I feel like this is just a gauntlet thrown here in one of the budding rivalries. JoJo, the young gun. Yeah, he's like, you're not going to be able to punish me in the early game, Bjergsen. What do you got? You're Zillion? His answer is Veigar, baby.
I was actually watching, he was playing this the other day, JoJo now flashing the Zillion here. You know, he was playing this into actually Zillion in Champions Queue as kind of an answer into some of these weak laning phase scaling picks. This is a champion that scales incredibly well. I don't think we've gotten to see Veigar in the LCS this year yet, but it's been so popular in solo queue, both in mid lane, even being played bot as a farming champion in bot lane. Incredibly, incredibly strong, really good into some of these squishy matchups like the Corki, who has to play with such respect to the cage. You can sometimes play this matchup relatively aggressively, because once you get post 6, pretty much every time you drop that cage, you can force Valkyries out and really make that lane phase difficult.
Meanwhile, with top lane being answered here from EG and both solo lanes being picked up, we finally get into one of these pick bans where it's going to be support bans coming through from both sides, really whittling down on this. Yes, you technically can also flex Graves into jungle, but I also expect us to have to dig deeper into jungle pool. Santorin, I feel like, you know, always has his Trundle to fall back on. And there already is decent frontline showing, so has definitely quite a few to choose from. But the supports keep on falling here. Thresh plus Karma, the two so far.
I want to chime in on the mid matchup real quick as we go through fairly mundane bans. I don't consider Veigar a counterpick into Corki. Certainly there is some gameplay, but Corki outranges Veigar's entire kit. Like, he's playing
at
a
counter. You're playing more a really strong scaling pick.
Oh yes,
that you can get through lane.
Oh
right?
yeah. Veigar is very, very good, and Veigar is going to be strong, and Bjergsen will do well. But I wouldn't consider this a counter to Corki as much as it's a strong champion who is okay against Corki.
It is throwing down another answer as far as we are not going to get turbo outscaled. Because your cage creates so much room for Jinx. So definitely excited to see them play the team fights out. But the J span actually picked up too. EG covering the bases for that possible flex into the jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. They are concerned about that. I mean, TL has been pretty flexible. They have been drafting a lot of different stuff. Obviously, we know Bwipo can do a lot of different things. I don't think that it's actually going to be, a flex of the jungle. I expect it to go to Bwipo up on the top side. Jhin is still available. There's still a lot of priority junglers available. Trundle was banned out by TL, which makes me think even more so that they would be pretty happy to take this in.
What are the odds it's Veigar support? Like, as an actual thought, right? Because Leona's entire kit is I want to walk in. Veigar, or sorry, like, if it's going to be Leona at the end, Xin, Zhao, and Gnar, all of them have to actually reach you to do anything meaningful. And like, well, we cage for the Jinx. You got Leona stun, and that's it.
I don't love Veigar as a support just because I think you really do kind of need the gold for the scaling. I mean, I think there can be value there as you're talking about the interactions, but it does make your 2v2, especially early, so incredibly weak because you basically are just the cage. And in some of these aggressive matchups, you just posture forward, you force out the cage, and then you look for an all-in immediately after it, which kind of puts the AD in this like position where you have to just stand back and wait for whatever farm comes to you. And I think because they have such a strong duo on this bottom side, with Hansama and Core, you want to play aggressive through it, you want to try to get an advantage there. And it's going to be Volibear, which is starting to see some action. An early ganking champion that can be really, really strong. So now you have to be scared, really, whatever you play into top side. Volibear can make that, a serious kill threat for the Gnar, especially in mini. And pairing up with CoreJJ, that is a tremendous amount of lockdown, which also sets up for the cage from Veigar later on.
And sets up tower dives. I love seeing Volibear. This champion is so good for jungle for it, just turbo accelerating the early game for you. Definitely does fall off. Not a good scaling jungler at all. Becomes just a ball of health later on, but the power of the ganks and turning off the towers for those possible dives is so big.
It'll be interesting to see if because we are in competitive, we just get like Sunderer or even second items Zonias, because that had been really popular for Volibear a lot in competitive play, because that gave you the survivability to kind of get in the back line, stun someone up, create this zone of threat that they have to respect you, and then just go into that Zonias. And that was kind of the meta build when we had seen Volley a lot in competitive play.
Especially with the cooldown reduction to the shield coming down as well. Gonna get a lot of value out of that AP.
Well, gonna be fun to watch for. 2 big carries. Honestly, we've seen how much Bwipo has done as well. 3 big carries on the TL side. Santorin, always an outstanding facilitator. And on the other side, Evil Geniuses have dropped a lot of games recently. 0-3 in the lock-in finals. 2-2 so far. Hoping to turn it back on now. The young gun jojopyun got his Corki on second pick. And it's about them. See if they can step up now with TL's full roster waiting to face them off here.
Man, I love those intros, looking so nice. And this is going to be an interesting game because we do have the Predator for the Veigar. So he is looking for more of that engaged threat. Pop the Predator, walk forward, threaten with that cage. It can be very, very scary to play around. And it's double aftershock for the supports as well. So, they are looking to get aggressive here.
Yeah, so are EG though. It can be hard for Veigar to play into Jhin range, Corki range, Leona roams. I'm so excited for this matchup, guys. Welcome one, welcome all to the hottest new rivalry in the LCS.
Yeah.
Team Liquid versus Evil Geniuses. Yes, a lot of the focus is on this mid lane because it feels like, Bjergsen fighting JoJo is like Morpheus fighting Neo. Currently as well, Morpheus is 3-1 versus Neo, with Team Liquid winning 3-0 in the lock-in finals. So there's also added revenge factor here for EG wanting, to get revenge for that defeat.
Seeing all the ones and JoJo's seeing all the zeros.
JoJo's he's learning to read the code still. he's getting into the matrix. But I also love when we have, the ex-teammates like Hansama and Inspired going up against each other as well. Inspired always looking to have an influence on that bottom lane. And since we have 2 melee supports, playmaking supports, as good as Vulcan and CoreJJ, you want any little bit of help from a jungler there, will spark a fire.
They are into the lane. Of course, again, you mentioned the double aftershock, so both supports can kind of walk up, take the scrap. It's very reliably easy for them to trigger aftershock on their respective Qs, or in Leona's case, Eve, she needs it. Not going to be much of a problem, but we get to see what the fight turns into. Waves are pretty close together on that first meet, so the second wave is the important part, and it's actually going TL's way. First hook, and that's actually good. Backing off of Vulcan means he can't get the stun back, can't get aftershock on, you get the damage to stick.
CoreJJ still got it. Is that that's our read?
Shock.
Shocking. He's kept it up here. Early push for Team Liquid will be nice because both junglers heading down to this bottom side. Volibear very much can scrap Jhin early on. You can stun him into staying within range of the E. If you get that E slow and the shield, you're going to win out.
Yeah, that's how I feel about almost every jungler for him. If you can hit the E and be in it, they can't really fight you anymore. And that's kind of Volley in a nutshell, whether it's top or jungle. You have to pay so much respect to that zone of power. And that's why it's often about trying to bait it out, scrap a little bit longer, a little bit slower to try to fight him outside of it.
Also, I do want to point out that even though he is Volibear, which is definitely an early game jungle, he's not skipping camps. So this is a straight, full clear, efficient path here from Santorin down to the bottom side, not wasting any time, whereas Jhin kind of has to wrap around back up, left up the Krugs there. Volibear is afforded this luxury because his AoE is so good with that E that we're talking about. And that was one of the things that buffed him back into play, was when they buffed that ability. 2 seconds off in the jungle does mean a lot as far as that cooldown. So very efficient for Santorin. Full clear into bottom Scuttle Crab, into his pushing bottom lane.
Yep, he's up an entire Krug camp and tempo on the fact that this is already down. He can take the scars when he wants. Okay, yes, indeed, the entire bottom jungle is gone. Not a surprise here. Bjergsen would have seen JoJo walk the left-hand side. He can kind of surmise, okay, top Scuttle's been taken. Sure, no problems there. And figure out the rest of it. Inspired gonna go ahead and not take a recall, but go back through his camps right now. Everything will respawn shortly, and it means he'll have a similar amount of gold when he does finally buy items, but Santorin's gonna be first on the map with an inventory.
Exactly, and Santorin got to spend his extra time because he was more efficient with his path in getting the deep vision through that blue quadrant. So leaving up kind of the alert wards for bottom lane for Hansama and CoreJJ to continue to look for aggressive plays. And here's the first support roam mid. Gets out just before it materializes.
Nice. Though that's a lot of damage. Forcing the flash out of jojopyun. Big deal there. That's going to be, probably his recall out. Can TV back to lane. That's going to hurt. Now Bwipo, is he going to be in danger?
And that's kind of the threat of Veigar. You know, when you are playing Corki and some of these champions into it, if someone is there, walk forward, drop the cage, you gotta run immediately. If you do get locked up, it is incredibly, incredibly difficult. And that is just going to be that much harder now with Flash down. When Bjergsen goes back to base, expect him to pick up boots and try to get value out of the Predator here. Call Volibear towards mid, force out the Valkyrie. If Valk's down, you got no way out here as JoJo.
And this is, though, one of the small things I like about this matchup for Veigar is that your event horizon, your cage, is a 17-second cooldown and costs 70 mana versus the Valkyrie costs 100 mana and is like a 20-second cooldown longer. So you have the advantage there. Continuing to force trade those two abilities and open up pockets for CoreJJ to get real aggressive.
Two top laners trading equally in gold. Inspired going for the more damage-focused option here with the pickaxe and inventory. Not a surprise, basically what's going to build toward, but first TP forced out of top lane. Bwipo did it a little bit ago. Impact just does it now to match. Full fade to the inventory, so slightly better buy here, but bot laner is just basically trading farm back and forth. Inspired will be spotted on the ward. Ultimately, no gank.
Yeah, and Bwipo just used the early TP basically to shove and force Impact to respond with the TP, and because he spent his mana to do that, he then takes a free recall, goes back to base, he'll equalize on the buys, and it's almost guaranteed just to be straight towards Hullbreaker. We have both junglers down here around this bottom side. Santorin's looking.
Information known that Inspired was around, walks in, 1v3 for a moment, doesn't have a lot of help anymore. Inspired flashing away, but his health bar is low, and a kill comes through. Hansama's on the board. Can they chase down into CoreJJ? No, it's the 1-for-nothing Team Liquid wins.
And this level advantage for Santorin afforded to him by the most standard of paths. He got a full second clear in before Inspired shows on that ward on bottom side, so he knows, even if Inspired is in this brush still, I have a level advantage as Volibear.
Yeah.
You know, a level this early is worth over 500 gold just in base stats, plus your extra ability, so he gets focused, but Team Liquid turn it around. Really well done there by CoreJJ, focusing as well. He turns for the hook. They peel Santorin. It does cost him a summoner spell, but well worth it. So Inspired cleared that ward, you know, in the side brush there, so they know that he's here. And Santorin, this is how you utilize level advantage. This is how you utilize extra clear.
Yep, going straight in. They try to turn on to Santorin and burst him down, but not quite enough there. Santorin very early flash out, is utilizing his HP to buy time essentially for Hansama and Core, who are then able to clean up.
Nice heat-seeking rocket there. They did see him walk into this position with that ward that just expired. Thank you, observers. That little red dot there means a ward just died from evil geniuses. I also want to compliment the focus fire, though, because sometimes that gets lost. You know, especially when you're bringing a player right back in. They all, no hesitation, every single bit of damage is into Inspired. No wasted damage there. You focus fire the under-leveled enemy jungler, because if you focus fire the enemy support, you know, Vulcan does have Aftershock. He's more tanky. Xin with no ultimate is the squishiest target, and they barely did eke out that kill. So every little bit counts with these small efficiencies and focusing.
Yeah, you talk about little bits here, right? The first recall, Santorin, double root crystal. He's Vulcan Inspired, pickaxe, which is not wrong, but just means he is indeed squishy, and harder to get stuff done to that one as Bwipo takes a big chunk, does land the ulti damage, so damage back and an impact there. But yeah, target selection was great. Level lead, itemization, all that helped knock down Inspired's first blood.
Really well played, and we'll try to continue maintaining his experience advantage. He's almost a full level ahead. Inspired catching up off the back of that clear, but Santorin now post 6. You talked about tower dives. There is the opportunity to try to look for those aggressive plays. And Bjergsen now had lost chapter money on his first buy, so he didn't pick up the boots, but he has gone back now, has the Predator boots, has the Dark Seal. And I would like to see them try to find some plays here, see if they can set up some sort of a punish. Might have to be back towards, you know, playing towards that bottom side, and see if they can get something done there.
I always like checking in as well with Veigar in the game on how many stacks, because he's not always clicked in. Thank you, observers. There's 66 AP already for Bjergsen. So doing pretty good at spreading and getting a decent amount of AP stacked up in these early stages where that's a lot of his focus.
And you can see how defensive JoJo is actually going. You know, he's going tier call, so he has to pay some respect over to the burst that can come out between Volley and Veigar. So he goes for the early Hex Drinker, but this is going to mean he's going to spike much later this game because he's putting a lot of early gold into straight up scaling. So it's going to be a bit of a long burn here for EG, you know, to really get JoJo online. And I do think, you know, Bjergsen on one item with Everfrost is going to be much more of a threat than whatever JoJo can actually cobble together at that point in the game.
Otherwise, though, pretty close game. 500 gold. Remember, 600 for an assisted first blood. I mean, EG are farming quite well overall. The early pathing from Santorin has equaled out to both of them having 16 camps done. So nothing too meaningful going on. Top lane's also very close together. These are the build paths for Hullbreaker in both cases, by the way. Phage plus pickaxe builds into it. That's going to be the stun landing queue. And, of course, no need to ult. You could burn it for damage, but keeps the cooldown.
Yeah, again, this is the safety that supports you by kind of diverting your build and getting an early Hex Drinker.
Yeah.
Even if you get stunned up like that, you know you're not going to die. Yes, some good damage chunk there from Bjergsen, but JoJo shrugs it off, and EG move into the river with a forced reset on TL's bottom side. They can know that this dragon is for sure theirs.
Predator towards top. Nice slow. Should be in range for the cage. Has to flash to get away. I believe the E was already burned for extra distance, so that is a flash forced. Off the Predator gank top. Well played, Bjergsen.
Yep, really nicely done. They know that they're going to be going for a dragon on the bottom side, so Bjergsen just makes a play towards top, gets that flash out. He's going to lose the cannon. He'll lose a few minions off of this, but it does buy some pressure for Bwipo, so you'll have to see, you know, what they can get out of that. Can they actually get out there and punish Impact? Because Mini Gnar is very, very vulnerable to a Volibear who has flash and ulti available. I want to see Santorin play towards that top side, try to punish that, unlock Bwipo, who you know is going to pay you back later because he has been so good for TL throughout this entire year.
You can see it already. JoJo got another plate off the turret during that roam, so the cost is kind of twofold there. He is richest in the game, with his money also being invested in payoff, basically, abilities here, with a early pickup on the tier, taking away, so that'll transform right over once you get Manamune.
Also worth noting, it's not going to be a Sunder or Volley. You know, he's just going pure tank here. He has the Turbo Chem tank, has the magical footwear that's going to kick in here pretty soon as well.
Perfect timing.
You know, that's one of those things. That's a different rune, actually. You know, that's one of those things where I think it makes a lot of sense because he has a lot of strong carries here. You don't need to be the damage dealer with Veigar, Graves, and Jinx. And thank you, Phreak. I knew you.
I'm still smiling, man. That was really good.
Yeah, I think it's for sure the best Volibear build because you want to run off of that early move speed, and the power that Chem Tank does give you still works really well with all these move speed champions. You know, it doesn't rely on the dash for charging it up there. So Volley gonna head down towards bottom side as well, just to allow the push in here.
And just good instincts. Hey, is someone in Tri-Brush? Yes, 2 people in fact. Okay, good to know. Inspire takes a bit of damage, doesn't really matter, but all right. We're not gonna go hard on the turret because we know we're gonna get answered. Not a big problem down there. We'll wait to see when it gets cashed in. I want to note that Impact did, of course, buy tier 2 boots, so he does not have the answer on Hullbreaker here against Bwipo, which means infinite top lane pressure. The item is incredibly efficient, especially when you are alone. It's a ton of armor, health, and AD, and that means, you know, Impact just can't hold up in the lane right now.
Yeah, why buy boots when you're not going to run away from the fight anyways? You get your first Hullbreaker, you have so much...
He's a brave warrior. He's just going to fight it out.
Exactly, you have so much extra armor. Bwipo up here, he plays Graves like a Chad, and it's into
Ultimate,
double...
do it.
Kobe with the like medieval warrior tank,
did.
he's like, why would you need boots when you're never going to run from the fight?
That's me.
Move speed is for cowards.
Dark Ages advice coming for you here. I got your back.
I want to point out, though, the recall got stopped. Bwipo, in fact, did ult the recall from Impact, so he's going to be Gnar. Santorin is on the way over here. And theoretically, since Impact didn't get his recall off, hasn't bought in a long time. He's down so much gold. He's got to have like 1,500, 2K in inventory. Yeah, 1,500. Like, that's almost Hullbreaker or right about the amount of money for that. He wants to get back and buy it, but almost got pressured off of dying instead. Thankfully, Inspired was nearby, so no play.
It'll be interesting to see if he just wants to play through sides because, you know, while Hullbreaker is so good inside, if you just buy Hullbreaker in group, like, the item is not good, right? And people talk a lot about the generic strength, but I think not realizing necessarily how gold efficient some of the other items are, that their gold efficiencies stay the same whether you're group or separated. So I think you have to, you know, take that playstyle into consideration and really make sure that you are getting value in that side.
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit of both right now, where it is, I feel like, a little bit overstated, a little bit overjuiced, but also...
Like the Rek'Sai rushing Hullbreaker to me was like reportable.
Yeah.
That's why you're looking around. Is it the kids that are wrong? Is it me?
Yes.
No.
It's the Rek'Sai.
It's
The
the
kids are wrong.
Rek'Sais. It's the Rek'Sais that are building jungle Hullbreakers that are out of line. But let's get right back to it again. We had earlier focus on this Predator Veigar here from Bjergsen. So now with his flash, with Unleashed Teleport, with Predator all available, and the Everfrost follow-up.
Yeah.
This is a key here. You can CC someone, especially someone in bottom lane, all the way from 100 to 0.
Yeah, it can be pretty tough. I mean, there's so much CC between that 3-man squad of Santorin, Bjergsen, and CoreJJ. If anyone ever gets caught and you don't have Cleanse or QSS or something, you are just going to die. So we'll see if there's any sort of move towards that early on, because it's tough to team fight into Veigar and play around that cage while still getting good amounts of damage out.
Yeah, I mean, and look at the inventory too. This says, I want to make a play now. I love Dark Seal buys early before you go make some sort of play like that. He can stack up his Dark Seal. He's fully operational. Santorin was seen over this ward, nice ward behind the back of Dragon over there. So they saw him walk down here through the Tri-Brush, I believe. And that's why you can see EG playing cautiously right now. Once again, this time it's Inspired that is actually hovering.
Oh, they saw Hansama move down. Oh, he was looking for the blindside played there.
Nice attempt. Really good reflex out of Danny there. Got out of the hook right in time. Could have been a kill.
Yeah, that a little bit unlucky for EG because they were actually over the wall. They saw Hansama moving down the river, and then Vulcan just went for the prediction E. Had they actually connected, the Inspired could have W'd over the wall. They probably would have forced at least sums. But Hansama, I don't know if he had the sixth sense or what, but he just backstepped there out of vision, and they aren't able to connect. So it's Danny that ends up going down sums.
Reset on the second Herald there, nothing picked up from that one. Mid lane was crashed a little while ago. They're gonna go for the play now, and Nautilus big damage, but he does have a shock on. Takes it for a while. Tries to walk out, 100 health left, and does not yet die. Finally burns, but the same happens to Inspire. 2 deaths for the jungler, 1 now for the TL support. Santorin dangerously low. We're not gonna hit, second one will not, and he's able to walk away with his life. That shot's gonna land. Danny cannot get into range to Gale Force in for the final shot.
Whew, yeah, Santorin has flash if there was going to be any crazy sneakiness coming out a little bit later, but holds on to it. Bjergsen's got his back there in the front lines. Cage goes down, Everfrost missed though.
And that's why the matchup can look fine, because as long as you can sidestep stuff, the one-on-one looks okay.
It's when volley comes, you're CC'd forever.
Right. The rest of it gets funny. The 1v1 you can see looks not bad for Corki.
Yep, absolutely. But TL looking to get aggressive here. They're obviously spotted out on this, but had the confidence to clear that ward. You can see the immediate stun, and I like how Santorin was set back from CoreJJ, not clearing the ward with him, so they couldn't be double stunned by the ult.
Yeah, then you got the flash out there from Vulcan. They barely chased down the last kill there, so for Hansama to get excited, and you can't follow the chase, cutting off the corridor there with the AoEs. But the reason you go for that deep ward there is because the rewards for that deep ward are so big with Dragon number 2 here, and the fight over vision behind this objective really meaning a lot. This same ward tried to place again there from Vulcan, but CoreJJ sees it placed this time so they can clear it right back out.
Well, Dragon number 2 available 17 minutes into the game. Gold still very close between the two teams. Team Liquid up 240. Keep in mind though, a transformed Cole from Corki. It lets you cheat a bit on the gold graph, but certainly TL doing pretty well in this game as it's being pushed in. Turret reasonably low. If you can never get second Herald, it's going to be knocking down that turret. But TL with enough control, bot pushed in, mid pushed in, they're going to answer the Dragons 1-1.
Another nice thing about Veigar is actually the objective secures. You can time the WQ with the smite coming through, Volibear E as well, and you can secure these objectives from really, really high amounts. He's been doing a great job stacking up the passive. He has 170 stacks or so, probably going for death cap second, and you know, when you hit that, you are going to be really, really scary.
Yeah, this bottom lane focus for Team Liquid is paying off so well for them. The entire turret taken by Hansama and CoreJJ down there, pushing on number 2, while they know Riftveil's been given up in exchange for this Dragon take and bottom turret for themselves. They happily give that away. This is just Herald number 2, not going to give you nearly as much gold, instant gold power. Does give you some possible outs for later, but cleanse
Low
goes
and a
down.
cleanse, yeah. I don't think he needed to burn the summoner, but better safe than sorry. I think more is going on. Did have a Volibear in his back pocket. Santorin was waiting around, but ultimately, hey, bot lane turret fell, 1200 gold lead, TL's feeling good.
And I love the, sticking to the game plan from Champ Select. You mentioned Volibear's in his pocket. He's been in his pocket whole game, Phreak. He has not left his pocket. Santorin spawned in the bottom lane pocket there. He full cleared towards bottom side twice.
The bear appears to be much larger than a pocket, but maybe it's just like a really big one.
I mean, we need this kind of like Team Liquid X like Tamagotchi like cross collaboration. You get pocket monsters. I want a pocket Santorin.
Pocket wards.
Yeah, I mean it's Bjergsen's teammate, so that's yeah, exactly.
Isn't Volibear supposed to be this god that like hundreds and hundreds of feet tall?
Hey, if he's a god, can he control his size?
There you go.
Maybe so.
It's a superpower.
Santorin can fit in the
Checked out.
pocket.
What is a god to a Tamagotchi?
I don't know.
That's how the song goes, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how that goes.
All right, well, working with CoreJJ seamlessly once again. They're transferring their vision, obviously, because they got the Dragon off the map already up towards this top side, and looking to transition everybody towards pushing top side turret. Really like this move from Team Liquid. Again, they've been really keeping to this checklist as far as the opening of the game, and now you can tell where they're going with the moving of the vision resources here. Hansama switches towards mid, they clear out the wave, but Bwipo might pay the price.
Bwipo definitely sees, all right, Inspired's definitely right here. That's the Rift Herald. It's not going to kill the turret, so unless you put in more pressure, and they're not gonna, it's damage to the turret that's not going to die anytime soon, and TL just check in off the structures. Turret number 2 is down. Gold lead reads 2,000, and they're just in complete control of the map, now heading topside, and Vulcan and jojopyun are about to be in a 2 versus 4. Will they live? Answer seems unlikely if that's a safety for Jojo. Vulcan gonna be tanky and try to walk his way out, but Veigar, there you go. Finalizes the kill, presses R, takes it. 3-1 Team Liquid.
Nice Everfrost from Bjergsen there, catching Vulcan. TL's just been so good on the invades, taking over these pockets of vision, denying EG's top side of the map so consistently, and that's what's giving them access to the tier 1 mid. That's what gives them control of the jungle, which they can then push into a kill, and now they're tier 1 top. They are just slowly grinding EG out of this game.
And I'm checking in on the Veigar AP stack, 237, fellas, with the extra kills adding to it as well.
And that's death cap. He's nearly at 700 AP. He's closing in now.
And this is 4 stacks on that Dark Seal that we mentioned. So efficient. Everything is going, according to plan for him. But JoJo's got the package. Corki here trying to wield it. There's no real great timing for this, though. No, objective that you can actually force on. So
Baron, but why did you grab this?
I mean, I guess he's just looking. He thought there might have been some sort of a fight. If you're not going to fight the next dragon anyway, then
I mean, yeah, that would be the only call if they've already decided that they're not going to fight dragon number 3, which, to be fair, is a fairly inconsequential dragon.
Yeah.
This only gets you to 2. You're light years away from a soul.
I think, honestly, since they've been struggling so hard to control the topside jungle, they may have taken package to stay safe pushing out top and say, hey, if TL actually invades to try to contest for vision here again, we can try to come and look for a fight.
Yeah.
Of course, in the end, won't be very consequential here. They're not able to get anything from it, but TL is just bleeding EG out, controlling their jungle.
Good stun, decent damage. Jojopyun for everybody at this point. Nautilus may drop,
blanks.
locket pop. There's a
Gnar.
kill, and no rocket to hit Vulcans. How about the rest of this one now? Sidestep it away. How's going to be slowed, but the cage lands, and the flash means nothing. Impact dies. 1-for-1 in the fight, and Bwipo snipes down a second. Jinx chasing, stun to the turret, cleansing away, one hit, and a flash in for Danny, takes one down. He'll die for the play, but at least you made Hansama die.
Hansama's positioning was so good in evading the attack by secondary turret, but then you can tell at the end, Danny gets so fed up, flashes in execution style, force shot right in his face to make sure he's going down.
This is illegal!
Well, turns out it's not illegal for TL. They get to do what they want. They get the turret and the dragon after.
Yep, Danny wanted to get that punish. They do get the engage here on a CoreJJ, but he is a very tanky man. The W is up. He procs the Aftershock here pretty early, and Bwipo is there on the collapse very, very quick. And this ult whipping from Impact really hurt. Didn't have the patience on it, because if you just actually walk up to Hansama, even if he flashes, then you can flash follow and vault for the guaranteed ult. So just impatient on the play, and Hansama makes him look a little bit silly with a bit of a backstep.
Yeah, Hansama dodged 3 abilities right in a row there. Really well done from him, the patience. But then Danny says, dodge this! And you can't, but he's gonna pay his life as well.
And unfortunately, trades summoners for a 1-for-1, which is actually, I mean, pretty much EV negative. So letting him actually walk away was honestly the better choice. Unfortunately, looked cool, but now he's summonerless for the next team fight when Hansama was already going to be summonerless.
But who was dead there, huh?
Both of them.
They both, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of Danny's friends as
But
well.
who killed
And all
who,
of Danny's
huh?
friends.
Danny killed him.
Danny killed him.
There you
Did.
go.
Damn, Daniel. But 4,000 gold puts Team Liquid ahead, and there's no summoners for the outplay. I mean, every single flash is down, so Veigar cage is gonna stick from Bjergsen.
TL
Except for
has
that
been relentless in this top side, constantly pushing in, utilizing this squad, Santorin and CoreJJ, and the Volibear E. They just use it to check every brush, so they're not getting caught off guard. Now they have Hansama here behind them, so they move forward, front line first, and they're gonna hook straight in on.
Pretty good damage on a Vulcan, has the W, has the Aftershock, Volibear ulting away, Vulcan will die, and now it's time for TL to find a route, walk into range, hook him up, and inspired. Hey, got a pretty good Gore Trigger heal, but still, Bjergsen holds the ult, waits it out, lands the snipe, another 2 on the board. Team Liquid will not be stopped, another flash forced away from jojopyun.
And TL have really good turn off of Baron too. The cooldown here for Bjergsen with his Event Horizon will come right back up. He's almost level 16. They can start up this Baron. If anyone gets too close, you get caught with a cage.
They can try impact, about to be Mega Gnar, stunned up several times in a row. Ults one backwards, and there's assist number 3,000. Finally 2 on the board for him, but it's still Baron gonna fall. Team Liquid in control of the game.
Well, fellas, they get the burn and the turn for this Baron. Trading 1 kill there. Picking up the Baron, though, means that step number 3 is moved right up the list. They can return to their split push. Mr. Bwipo, he's done his job all game long. The camera has not been on him for the majority of it. That does not mean it is any less important. He can get right back out there with his Hullbreaker, push on bottom, 4-1 for TL to push into the inhibitor turret. Here's another look at the pick. Good ult out there from Santorin. Doesn't take any extra unnecessary damage while Hansama is able to finish up the kill. And then Bjergsen stepping in and out of the Jhin ultimate, holds onto his ulti for the execution kill on enemy jungler until the very end. And then you know you can start up this Baron. Corki now has no flash. They get a turn as well, and the kill comes through.
Yeah, and Bjergsen going for fairly common, not the W second max. He did go for E max second here. To be able to have those additional cages, getting so much value on them. And EG just feeling like they need to defend some of their vision. You can't give over 3 quadrants of the jungle and still win the game generally. But TL have been fighting better in these areas, and it's so hard to fight against Veigar, who controls so much space in your own jungle. Just walk up, cage the tower, and start sieging.
Exactly. So good for these sieges. Even with the range of Corki rockets, difficult here for EG, trying to struggle on some of the wave clear. And at the top of your screen, constantly. Bwipo pushing away as he's done all game long. Annihilating the minion wave, Baroned up cannons, gets to do his extra work, and even with EG trying to rotate Vulcan and the rest of the squad over there, they can't stop some of this little bit of damage coming through. Cannons buffed up.
I mean, Bwipo just is so farmed. You know, he's almost 320 CS at 27 minutes.
Flash stun. Jojo hooked back in. Ulti's going to land, and Bjergsen is unstoppable. Quick stopwatch for CoreJJ. They'll tank the skill shots. They'll dive for a second. Inspired once again, left alone. Goes to the play. Finds the kill into Hansama. Nicely done by the Zhao. However, he is still left alone. No further resets. 3v4 in the map. Can't find the kill into Core. That turret, thankfully, is hitting Santorin. Oh,
They're looking for the end.
That shield was enough, though. 4 versus 2 to end the game right now. Next turret number 1 gonna fall rapidly. Thank you, Demolish. Adding it up. The flash play for Vulcan finds a stun, but they've caught one, and that's gonna be Impact in the dirt. Next is gonna fall and pick it up where they left off. Team Liquid crushing EG in under 30 minutes. Team Liquid, the team to beat in the LCS.
Morpheus now 4-1 versus Neo for all those keeping track as well.
Man, Bjergsen looking really good on the Veigar. TL in general playing really, really well as a coordinated squad, taking over Vision. To me, that was the biggest thing, was how well CoreJJ and Santorin played together in the enemy jungle, constantly pressuring EG, forcing them to respond to try to maintain some semblance of map control, but they just couldn't do it. TL looked like a well-oiled machine, and you can feel the difference that CoreJJ makes, man. This looked so easy for them. Absolutely smacking down EG, was now lost to all 3 of those top teams that they have played against in this split.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Ayla, they also beat him 3 times in a row in finals with him as well. To me, the #1 word that comes into mind for TL, especially for these games, is control.
Yeah.
I mean, they set themselves up all the way from draft phase with Bwipo on Graves, having pressure on top side. Santorin still full confidence, full clears all the way to bottom. Scuttle Crab, deep vision for his pushing bottom lane. They've already got control themselves. They're pushing up. Second, full clear all the way through bottom lane.
Yeah.
And they have the vision of Inspired on the ward, so they just force it with the advantage that they have there. And they keep chugging away. It's these small incremental advantages that slowly just crush you.
They are such a scary team because they're just kind of winning in all sides, right? And almost when you're looking at their players against most matchups in the league, you expect them to win in isolation. So when you have a team that's that skillful, that then has incredible teamwork, they are so hard to beat.
Yeah, they dropped 4 kills and 1 dragon. 0 turrets the entire game, completely in control over EG. Well done. And it means CoreJJ is now up 2 games against Vulcan head-to-head. We're joined LeTigress and the returned king CoreJJ for our Verizon postgame interview.
Thank you, Phreak. Welcome, CoreJJ, back to the LCS stage. Can you tell me about the moment that you received your green card allowing you to make your return?
You know, I felt a little bit disappointed that I couldn't be there in the locking tournament final, so that it felt a little bit sad. But I know the bigger for us, our bigger goal is beyond the locking tournament. We're actually looking for worse, doing well in worse. So I'm so happy. I'm glad. I'm so happy that I'm finally back. And then my first game was not disaster, so I'm glad.
It was far from disaster. Such a strong performance through and through. You didn't get to play EG in those lock-in finals, but you did play them here today. Were you expecting everyone to be as coordinated as you seem to be already?
Yeah, I don't know. So far during the practice, I mean, we were doing really well, and I don't know, my teammates are too good. So only thing I need to do is doing my job, and then everyone else is really good. And naturally, if you have so many good players, our game is good.
What has that been like with so many good players, not just the 5 we saw on the stage, but Ayla, for instance, stepping in and performing well? I know you have all been practicing together too.
Yeah, even when team played with Ayla, I played with a team little bit, we split the split. It make me turn into the team easily. And then the one sad thing is I feel like there is no better support than Ayla in ACS. So I don't know, I'm sad that I can play in here right now, but I'm sad that I can't play against potentially the second best support player in the LCS.
I like it. I love the support from the team. Many people did have a lot of strong words about his performance, maybe even getting overshadowed a bit because there was so much, focus on him being the substitute for you. But this is the core, no pun intended, I guess, that we've been waiting on with Team Liquid. Now you get to progress forward. Do you feel that you have stepped into a good stride already in terms of dominating the rest of the league?
I mean, we just started practicing as a team like a week ago, but I feel already really good. Past years, I always start thinking, when I was thinking about my team, it was like, we always had a potential to be the really good team. I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like we are already a good team. And then it's not a potential anymore.
Potential is gone. The reality is here. Thank you, CoreJJ, and welcome back to the LCS stage once again.
Thank you.
For more on that game, let's head on over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you so much, LeTigress. And what a way for him to step back onto the LCS stage, then with a dub.
Yep.
And over Vulcan, we had teased the head-to-head, and where there was only one game separation between the two of them, now there's two.
There it is. The gap is getting larger and larger.
It's widening. Bwipo's getting wider. No. I'm excited to continue to track that support matchup all split long. But let's take a look at the draft here, because Bjergsen is continuing his quest to frustrate me individually with his picks by picking up the Veigar.
Yeah.
Of all things.
This is something we saw workshopped as like a break to the stranglehold of Corki Victor over in LCK and then later in LPL as early as 12.2. So it was cool to see that pick coming out. The Volibear is also something that Santorin has shown he can pivot to. We have also the Volibear aficionado of Armeo on TLA as well. So that's something that this team will always pull out. It was a really interesting draft from TL, but I really like the way they execute this comp.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Veigar pick. I think the fact that it's already been played 2 times today, Nuke Duck is another example of somebody that's like been a Veigar enjoyer. The composition from Evil Geniuses, they actually could have just went for Jace on 3. Like they have so much poke already, so maybe they didn't want to like completely opt into it, like just go all in on the idea. But that's the only thing that would have made the 3 picks from Team Liquid a little harder to play. Like Jinx, Veigar, and Graves would have some struggle versus the composition.
That's a good point. They've already seen the Graves and the Jinx, right? And so why do you think they went for Gnar? Is it specifically because, okay, we actually want a team fight. We want to have the impact of the Mega Gnar over something like a Jace?
I mean, it'd be a ton of poke damage then, so you could potentially have over-indexed in it. Then the enemy team sees what you have. So I can see why they would be a little concerned, but
they can move the Graves, too, into jungle and then just go for an Aurelia or something like that. I can understand that fear. And maybe he's a Hullbreaker enthusiast. Maybe that's another thing, too.
Yeah, Graves had the Hullbreaker, so we know there's one Hullbreaker enthusiast out there. But so much of the story coming into this was CoreJJ and how he'd perform Mark, so I think we naturally have to check in, not only with the fact that they got the victory, but how did he play into it?
Great. He was phenomenal. This is why people love playing with CoreJJ, is because he is so proactive on the map. He got the shove off some good trading early on, goes mid, burns the flash of the enemy mid laner. Here's your free lane phase, Bjergsen. Have a good time. By the way, you guys want to win a 3v3 in the bot lane? Don't worry, I'll start it off. Hook right there, or excuse me, auto right there, and then has the hook to pull them back in. Like, he is such a leader for this team, especially in the early game.
Going into this play as well, Santorin had done a full clear. I know they mentioned it on cast, but that was another big difference maker in that play. I also want to return to something you said about the 2v2. We were looking for them to be aggressive. Even though we didn't see like a ton of kill, they immediately took over the push in that lane, which whenever that happens, you know Core is going to be everywhere on the map.
How would you guys grade that performance? I'll give him an A+.
A+?
Yes.
So room for improvement with the S.
A core
could have been a plus.
A core AA.
Oh my God! Stop.
And moving on.
No.
Let's take a look at some more fights, shall we? Because that was, as you mentioned, the early game where he does get a lot done. And we had some questions about what adding another strong voice into the mix would do in the mid-game, Rez.
It's been really strong. So like being able to see these back-to-back fights, this one of course gets them the pick on towards Leona. The combination of hook into immediately event horizon, hard for this team to play against. So like this was one of it. The other one was when they were actually on the Baron itself. I loved that setup just because they had people in places. So specifically, Nautilus was just vibing.
They had people in places.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing things.
Exactly. You look at the Nautilus chilling in that dot bush, waiting for the first person to come in, and Bjergsen had his eyes on the prize on that one.
I think as well, it just became a bit of the Veigar show. As you said, there's so many cages, so many things that make this champion annoying. People have been asking me for weeks, like, when do you think we're going to see that champ? Eventually, and here it is, and it took over the game with the scaling it took. I think it ended up around 1,000 AP by the end.
Infuriating. Absolutely infuriating how much AP
You are
he
not
had.
a Veigar enjoyer.
I am so against this champion. Just, from a personal
bitterness.
perspective. He piloted it phenomenally, yes. The amount of AP he had just off of 2 items is something to be feared. Santorin, though, actually being the one to pick up player of the game, which I think is important to note. And Emily, you called out what they had on cast as well. The way that he played towards the bottom side of the map is long known as one of the more intelligent junglers in the league, and also one of the junglers who's willing to sacrifice the most in his individual game to get the rest ahead. And when I think about this roster finally coming to fruition, Emily, I think about it being a roster that is meant for Santorin to be the jungler of.
Well, and here he didn't do that, right? He went for a full clear, and he shows up, and you just can't kill the Volibear that early because he's already too tanky.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be able to see him get his dues on that one. Speaking of getting dues, as you can see on the screen, 3,001. So congratulations on that assist there. I mean, he's not going to be too happy about the game itself, but like, it's a career accomplishment.
It's a big milestone. It's a big milestone, and again, it just goes to show his longevity as a player.
That has to be top for top laners, right? That's first.
I would imagine.
I'm gonna go with that's the most for any top laner.
Say
in
it
the
with
LCS.
confidence.
Yes, there you go.
Boom.
Someone can tweet me if I'm wrong, but I'm not.
Take that, Twitter. All right, well, during the 2022 Spring Split, make sure to use your MasterCard to make a purchase from the in-client store and save your card on file to be entered for a chance to win a trip to a League of Legends event or a set of 9 Player of the Week statues and a MasterCard prepaid card. Clean off a shelf. I'm telling you, you have until March 5th. That is 2 weeks from today to make a purchase and be entered for a chance to take home a Bwipo statue of your very own. From here, though, we're going to break. When we come back, it's Dignitas Quantum Pay versus FlyQuest. We'll catch you here in just a bit.
Welcome back to the Dragon Pit for this Assist of the Week presented by State Farm. For this assist, we jumped 30 minutes into CLG versus Dignitas with Ocean Soul on the line. CLG was well in position to force Dignitas into a fight and lost focus on River, who was the only one not in the river. With a swing of his hammer, the verdict was laid down, securing both Drake and Baron for Dignitas.
Already gonna kill the enemy top laner. Dignitas is going to town, and they're about to take their Ocean Soul.
Wanna join